What if I told you some heavy metal legends claim to have slept with over 2,000 people, more than most will meet in a lifetime? From heavy metal icons who lost themselves in the chase to legends who wore addiction like a badge of honor. Here are 25 worst affair addicts in heavy metal history. 1. Ozzy Osbourne. Ozzy Osbourne helped shape heavy metal. His voice was strong, his band Black Sabbath was loud, and his shows were wild. Fans cheered, lights flashed, and the world watched. But while the crowd saw a star, his home life was falling apart. Behind the music, Ozzy was lost. He didn't just party, he lived in chaos. Substances, alcohol, cheating, it never stopped. He said he couldn't help it. He called it addiction. But his family felt the pain. His wife Sharon cried. His kids didn't feel safe. At home, Ozzy was someone else. The man who sang on stage became a stranger behind closed doors. He cheated again and again. He said sorry again and again. But the damage stayed. Was it really something he couldn't stop, or was it something he didn't want to stop? Fame gave him power, and he used it to chase every bad thing he could find. While the crowd clapped, his family suffered. Ozzy's life was spinning out of control, and no one stopped him. Even when he knew he was hurting his wife, he kept doing it. Sharon almost left. His kids were scared of their own father, yet Ozzy kept singing, kept smiling on TV like nothing was wrong. That's the scary part. He said he loved his family, but he didn't protect them. He chased his own wants. He let the spotlight blind him. And through it all, people cheered. They didn't see the mess. They saw the music, the fame, the name. But behind the lights, Ozzy was drowning. That's what fame does. It hides the truth. It makes pain look fun. Ozzy lived loud, but the cost was high, too high. 2. Gene Simmons. Gene Simmons didn't hide. He wanted everyone to see him. As the bassist of Kiss, he wore wild makeup and stuck out his long tongue. He looked like a cartoon villain, but behind the face paint was a man who couldn't stop showing off. He said he slept with more than 4,000 women, and he kept pictures, like trophies. To some, it was the rock star life, but take a closer look. It wasn't about love. It wasn't even about fun. It was about needing attention. Gene didn't use substances, but his obsession with women became its own addiction. Every day, more names, more bodies, but no real connection. He bragged about it. He told stories like they were wins. But what kind of win is that? He turned people into numbers. He chased a feeling that never stayed. No matter how many women he had, it wasn't enough. He kept going, kept collecting, like he was trying to fill something inside. 3. Axl Rose. Axl Rose had the look, the voice, and the anger. He was the face of Guns N' Roses. On stage, he was fired. Off stage, he was a storm. He didn't just date women, he burned through them. It wasn't about love, it was about control, and that control hurts people. His relationships were full of drama, fights, jealousy, fear. Some said he couldn't handle fame. Maybe he didn't want to. Maybe he liked the chaos. Women came into his life and left with scars. Some were scared. Some were hurt for years. The reports kept coming about his temper, his rage, the way he treated women. The power he had on stage followed him off stage, but he didn't use it to do good. He used it to get what he wanted, and what he wanted left others in pain. Axl didn't hide the trouble. He wore it like armor, but behind that armor was someone broken, someone who kept pushing people away. And still, fans screamed for him. They saw the music, not the mess. 4. David Lee Roth. David Lee Roth was loud, always loud. He sang with Van Halen. He danced, jumped, and smiled big. He was the wild one. Off stage, he got even wilder. He believed rock stars should do whatever they want, and he did. No rules, no limits. He talked about sleeping with hundreds of women. He told the same stories again and again. At first, people laughed, but the more he talked, the sadder it sounded. Women weren't people in his stories. They were prizes. They were things. He said it was freedom. But was it? Or was it just another way to hide pain? He never stopped to ask. He kept chasing the party. More groupies, more nights, more noise. But under all that noise was something empty. Years passed. The stories didn't shine anymore. They felt heavy, hollow. The The fun started to look like warnings. David had fame. He had the lights, but he never stopped to ask what it was doing to him or to the people he used. 5. Tommy Lee. Tommy Lee played the drums in Motley Crue, but that's not what made him famous. His wild life off stage became a real show. He didn't just party. He made every bad choice look like a public event. People stopped caring about his music and started watching his mess. He dated famous women, fought with everyone, and smiled for the cameras while doing it. And that tape? Everyone saw it. He didn't try to hide. He looked like he wanted people to see everything. Rules never seemed to matter to him. He acted like they didn't exist. He was loud, wild, and always looking for more. Every time he stepped outside, something crazy happened. He became a walking headline. People didn't ask about his drumming. They asked what crazy thing he did last night. His name stopped meaning music. It started meaning drama. He had so many chances to stop, to slow down, but he never took them. He didn't want to be calm. He wanted the rush, the lights, the cheers, the trouble. And he kept going until the trouble was all that was left. He wanted more parties, more women, more chaos. He couldn't stop. It was like he needed it to breathe. Wherever he went, people expected something wild, and Tommy always gave them a show. His wild ways followed him like a shadow. He could leave the room, but the mess stayed behind. He became more famous for his affairs than his music. His life was like a storm that never stopped, and he seemed proud of it. Tommy Lee didn't just play drums. He played with fire, and he never got tired of the burn. 6. Nikki Sixx. Nikki Sixx was the bass player and songwriter. He gave Motley Crue its sound. But outside the band, he was a man falling apart. His life was filled with bad choices, risky nights, and way too many mistakes. And he knew it. He even wrote a book about it. He didn't hide, but showing the truth didn't make it easier to watch. Every night felt like a test. He drank too much, he used too much, and when that wasn't enough, he chased strangers, not love, just fast moments that ended in disaster. Each new place brought a new mistake. He kept falling, and he didn't care who he took with him. He said yes to everything. Fame gave him power, and he used it to feed his worst habits. He thought he was free, but he was trapped in a life he couldn't escape. Every high was followed by a crash. Every smile was hiding something broken. The more he wanted, the emptier he felt. Vince Neil. Vince Neil had the look, the voice, and the wild heart of a rock star. He was the front man, but off stage he was always chasing something, and it wasn't music. He lived like the rules didn't count. He went from city to city like it was a game. New city, new woman, new story, but never anything real. His love life wasn't sweet. It was fast, loud, and messy. People came and went like smoke. One-day romances, screaming fights, broken promises, and still, Vince kept going. The music played, but his personal life was the real noise, and it was ugly. He didn't stop, even when things got bad. He hurt people, he wrecked relationships, but he acted like it didn't matter, like it was all part of the fun, but it wasn't fun for the ones left behind. Every new thrill pushed him further away from peace. 8. Sebastian Bach. Sebastian Bach looked like a star. He had the hair, the moves, and the loud voice that filled arenas. On stage, he owned everything. Off stage, he wanted more. He wasn't just chasing music, he was chasing eyes. He wanted to be seen, not just heard. He moved from one person to the next without thinking. He didn't slow down. He dressed to get noticed. He acted like nothing could stop him. And for a while, that worked. But deep down, things weren't right. He wasn't just enjoying fame. He was running from something. The parties didn't stop. The strangers kept coming. But it wasn't real. It was all noise. His need for attention followed him everywhere, into hotel rooms, into mistakes, into headlines. His life off stage became just as loud as his concerts, and it started to fall apart. He wasn't just living the rock life, he was destroying it. His love life was a mess of broken promises and short flings. He didn't care who got hurt. He kept chasing something bigger, something wilder, but all he found was more trouble. 9. Bret Michaels. Bret Michaels didn't just sing in Poison. He made his whole life feel like a TV show. He brought his love life into the spotlight and let the world watch him date like it was a game. But it wasn't really about finding love. It was about people looking at him. Bret needed to feel important every day. He couldn't go a minute without the cameras, the girls, or the noise. He wore cool clothes, smiled wide, and played the part. Women weren't real to him. They were just pieces in his act. If one got bored, he found another. The younger, the better. He always needed someone new to keep the spotlight on him. But when the lights went off, things got quiet. Too quiet. Bret didn't know how to live without attention. Fame became his fuel, and he always wanted more. Behind his glasses and bandana was a man scared to be alone. He had fans, money, and everything a rock star could want, but he still felt empty. Bret chased women like other people chase air. Without them, he couldn't breathe. When the show ended, he had to face himself, and he didn't like what he saw. 10. Joe Elliott. Joe Elliott ruled big stages with Def Leppard. The fans were loud, the lights were bright. He looked like he was living a dream, but when the music stopped, Joe didn't know how to deal with silence. He filled it with women. After each show, he found someone new. He didn't care about their names. He wasn't looking for love. He was looking for noise. Joe used women to push away the quiet. He needed something to block out the empty feeling. Hotel rooms were always full. Backstage was never quiet. But nothing really fixed the problem. It just hid it for a while. The more he chased, the worse he felt. The fake smiles and empty nights started to wear him down. He couldn't stop. Not because he loved it, but because he didn't know another way to live. He lost touch with who he really was. When the cheering faded, he felt small and unsure. Joe had everything people dream about, but he was still running from himself. And no matter how many people were around him, he still felt completely alone. 11. Paul Stanley. Paul Stanley of Kiss had it all on stage. The voice, the moves, the crowd screaming his name. But off stage, things were different. Paul didn't feel strong or happy. He felt cold. He had everything fans could give, but it wasn't enough. Women lined up to be with him, and he said yes over and over. But inside, he still felt alone. Paul wanted to feel loved. He thought more women would help, but the more he said yes, the worse it got. Each new night built a wall around him, a wall so high no one could reach him. He became stuck in a cycle he couldn't stop. He thought the attention would fix his sadness, but it only made it worse. Later, Paul admitted he felt empty even when surrounded by people. He talked about how fake it all felt. He had confused being wanted with being cared for, but the love he needed couldn't be found on a stage. Years of pretending wore him down. The real Paul got lost in the act, and he struggled to find his way back. 12. Rob Halford. Rob Halford had a voice that filled stadiums. He led Judas Priest with power and fire. But inside, Rob was hiding a big secret. He was gay and in heavy metal. That was hard to admit. He thought the world wouldn't accept him, so he kept it quiet, locked away deep inside. But hiding made life harder. Rob lived two lives. On stage, he looked strong. Off stage, he felt scared. He didn't know who to trust. He looked for escape in fast affairs. He wasn't looking for love. He was trying to run from fear. But each quick fix left him feeling worse. It became a dangerous pattern. The more he tried to forget who he was, the more he lost control. Eventually, Rob couldn't take it anymore. He told the truth. He came out. People listened. Some showed support. But the years of hiding had already left deep pain. Rob showed that true strength isn't just loud music. It's being honest about who you are. Even now, the past still hurts. But at least now, he's free from the lie. These men were stars, but even stars can feel lost. They chased love, attention, and noise to hide from what hurt inside. Fame gave them everything on the outside, but inside, they were still searching for peace that never came. 13. Lemmy Kilmister. Lemmy Kilmister, the face of Motorhead, looked like the ultimate rebel. He had leather, whiskey, and loud music. People called him a legend. But behind the loud music and cool look, there was something else, something darker. Lemmy had a habit he never tried to stop. He chased women all the time, not for love, not for real feelings, just for the number. He said he had been with more than 1,000 women. He kept their pictures, not in albums, but on his wall like trophies. Each one was a win for him, not a memory, not a moment, just a point in the game. He didn't care if he hurt people, he just wanted more. Even when he got older, he didn't stop. He still drank like he was young, still partied, still chased women like nothing else mattered. Every day was the same: drink, party, women, sleep, then start again. It was like a broken record. 14. Fred Durst. Fred Durst got big in the late 1990s. Limp Bizkit was loud, wild, and all over the place. Fred wore his hat backward, shouted into the mic, and made it clear he wanted to be seen. But music wasn't the only thing he craved. Fred wanted eyes on him, always, and he found a way to keep them there by chasing women. He didn't just date, he made it a show. Models, actresses, famous faces, they were all part of his plan. He wanted the world to look at him and say, "Wow, he's with her now?" It wasn't about love, it was about being noticed. He changed partners into outfits. Each new woman brought a new headline. As his music faded, the chase didn't. He used his old fame to keep the spotlight. The charms started to look fake. The smiles seemed like masks. People started to ask, is this still the real Fred, or just someone afraid to be forgotten? Fred didn't slow down. He couldn't. The idea of being alone, of not being seen, scared him, so he kept running after more women, more headlines. 15. Till Lindemann. Till Lindemann brought fire to the stage, real fire. His shows were full of shock and noise. Fans loved the wild acts. His songs talked about pain, power, and desire. Some said it was art. Others started to wonder, is this too much? Off stage, Till acted a lot like his songs. He liked control. He liked being the one in charge. Women who met him sometimes felt uneasy. Some said they were scared after spending time with him. Some said he crossed lines that should never be crossed. But many people didn't want to believe it. That's just rock and roll, they said. But is it? Should fame mean someone can do whatever they want? Where do we draw the line between art and danger? Till lived inside the chaos. He didn't just pretend to be wild, he was wild. The same darkness in his songs followed him in real life. It wasn't just for the show, it felt real. 16. Glenn Danzig. Glenn Danzig made music that felt like a spooky dream. His bands Misfits and Danzig were all about dark things, shadows, strange love, and power. People called it goth, they called it cool. But Glenn didn't leave that world on the stage. He took it home. He didn't talk much, he didn't scream for attention. But there was something cold about him, something heavy. Women who spent time with him said they felt trapped. They didn't understand what they had walked into. It felt like a maze of control, not love, not care, just power. Glenn didn't brag, he didn't show off. But his actions spoke louder than words. He wanted control. That was his addiction. He needed to be the one holding all the cards. He didn't give his heart, he gave orders. His relationships weren't real connections, they were tools. Tools to feel powerful, tools to keep himself above others. But what happens when power is all you have, when the crown you wear is made of lies and fear? Glenn lived in a world of masks, a world where no one got too close, because maybe if they did, they'd see the truth. Not a strong man, not a king, but someone is afraid to be seen, someone who couldn't stop playing a role, someone who needed control more than love. 17. Danny Filth. Danny Filth from Cradle of Filth didn't just play dark characters, he became one. On stage, he dressed like a vampire, with fake blood and black paint. His shows were full of loud music, scary costumes, and strange dancing. But behind the makeup was a man who seemed to crave more than fame. He wanted shock, he wanted control, and desire became part of that. His songs talked about pain and twisted love, but the real warning was in how he lived. Off stage, nothing changed. Danny acted the same, saying and doing things that made people uncomfortable. Some fans thought it was just part of his act. Others saw something deeper, someone using desire to feel powerful. He crossed lines again and again. What started as art turned into obsession. He blurred the lines between performance and real life until they were gone. And when you live behind a mask for too long, you lose yourself. That's what made Danny's story feel more like a fall than a show. 18. Jonathan Davis. Jonathan Davis from Korn didn't pretend. He told people he had a problem. Desire ruled his life like a substance. His music screamed with pain, but inside he felt empty. He kept chasing something to make the hurt go away, but it never did. Every time he thought desire would fix it, it left him worse. The more he had, the more broken he felt. He wrote lyrics about guilt, sadness, and fear. He hoped honesty would help, but it didn't. Fans thought he was brave, but being honest isn't the same as healing. He stayed stuck in the cycle, late nights, regretful mornings, and deep silence. It wasn't about love. It wasn't even about pleasure. It was about trying to feel whole. But no matter how loud the music got, the hole inside stayed. Davis wasn't chasing people, he was chasing peace. But peace never came. He just kept singing through the storm, hoping one day it would finally end. 19. Phil Varone. Phil Varone played drums in Skid Row and Saigon Kick. He didn't hide his problems. He said it out loud. He was addicted to desire. He said he needed it every day. It became a job, not something fun. He couldn't stop, even when it hurt others. His fame gave him chances and no rules. That mix destroyed him. He made a movie about it. He gave interviews and posed for magazines. He said he wanted help, but he also liked the spotlight. Was he healing or just telling a wild story? His actions caused pain. He made promises, then broke them. He used people and left them behind. What once seemed exciting turned cold. Desire was no longer about connection. It was just trying to feel something, anything. He became known for drama, not music. Even when he talked about getting better, more bad stories came out. Was he really changing or just staying famous? Desire became his brand. But behind the smile, he was falling, and the people around him got hurt too. 20. Dee Snider. Dee Snider from Twisted Sister looked wild. Big hair, crazy makeup, loud songs. But behind all that, he stayed in control. He didn't fall into addiction. He saw it happen all around him. On the tour bus, backstage, in clubs, he watched people treat desire like a game. Women were treated like prizes. Feelings didn't matter. Power did. Dee didn't join in. Maybe he was scared. Maybe he was smart. But he saw the truth. People acted like they were happy, but many were broken. Desire became part of the job. Not love, not joy, just something expected. Dee stayed away, and later he talked about what he saw. He remembered the faces, the silence, the damage. He didn't just avoid the fall, he warned others about it. He had the strength to say no when everyone else said yes. That made him stand out. He didn't feed the monster. He didn't become one. He turned and walked away, and that takes real courage. 21. Zakk Wylde. Zakk Wylde looked like a warrior from a storybook. Long hair, loud voice, and a beard that made him stand out. He seemed strong. People saw a guitar god, but being young, rich, and famous is a bad mix. Zakk had all three, and that mix took him down roads that were full of trouble. When he started playing with Ozzy Osbourne, things moved fast. They traveled city to city. Every night meant a different hotel and a different party. There were drinks, substances, and people waiting at the door. The band lived in a storm, and Zakk was right in the middle. He didn't talk much about it, but his actions spoke louder. You didn't need to hear words to know he was caught in the chaos. Being around Ozzy meant being around madness. Ozzy was famous for losing control. Zakk got close to that fire, and when you're near fire, it burns. People say Zakk handled it better than others, but in a place where wildness is normal, even better means broken. He was still there, still doing things he didn't talk about, still falling into the mess. He looked strong on stage, but inside, he was not okay. He lived in a world where the fun never stopped, but it always turned dark. That kind of life doesn't leave you clean. It leaves marks you can't wash off. Zakk played hard, but he also lived hard, and that life caught up with him. Every night there were people. Some wanted autographs, some wanted more. It became routine. Drinks before the show, parties after. People came and went, faces blurred together. Feelings didn't matter. Zakk stopped caring, And that's when the damage begins, not when things are loud, but when they go quiet inside. He gave the world music, but the world gave him pain. And once you fall into that hole, it's hard to climb back out. 22. Kerry King. Kerry King came with fire. His music hit like a truck, fast, angry, loud. He wore dark glasses, chains, and tattoos. He didn't smile. He didn't pretend. He was sharp like broken glass. On stage, he looked fearless, but that power had a price. Slayer didn't rest. They went from city to city with no breaks. One night here, another there. Fans followed them like shadows. Some fans wanted more than music. They waited after shows. They offered everything, and no one said no. Drinks were easy to get. Substances were everywhere. Women lined up outside. Nobody asked questions. Nobody said stop. Kerry didn't look for love. He wasn't interested in feelings. It was fast. One night, then gone. Again and again. That kind of life becomes normal. But just because it's normal doesn't mean it's okay. Kerry lived in a world where everything moved too fast. It pushed him, and sometimes he pushed back. He fought with the world and with himself. People think anger stays on stage. It doesn't. It follows you to bed. It whispers when the lights go off. It makes you do things you don't understand. Kerry looked like he didn't care, but maybe he cared too much and didn't know what to do with the pain. He gave fans heavy music, but that world took pieces of him. He didn't fall all at once. It was slow, night after night, show after show. His habits became walls, and behind those walls, Kerry got stuck. 23. Mick Mars. Mick Mars didn't jump around. He didn't scream or act wild. He stood still, quiet, focused. While the rest of Motley Crue set fire to every room, Mick stayed in the corner, playing his guitar. But that quiet didn't mean peace. It meant something else. He was part of one of the wildest bands ever. Motley Crue was out of control. They drank too much, took too much, slept with everyone. Every day was another disaster. And Mick was there for all of it. Same hotels, same parties, same everything. People say Mick stayed out of trouble, but how can you stand in a storm and not get soaked? Even if he didn't shout, he still lived the same life, and maybe he felt it more than anyone else. Mick lived with pain, real pain. A disease made his bones ache all the time. Walking hurt, playing guitar hurt. He had to fight just to stand. That kind of pain changes you. It makes you want to escape. And in that world, escape meant pills. More drinks, more nights with strangers. He didn't show his pain. He didn't talk about it, but it was always there. When you hurt that much, you look for anything to feel better. Mick looked quiet on the outside, but inside he was breaking, and no one noticed. The band was too busy burning everything down. No one asked if Mick was okay. They saw him play and thought he was fine. But the people who don't scream are often the ones in the most pain. He wasn't in the news like the others. He didn't make big scenes, but he was part of the same machine, a machine that used people up. Mick gave everything to the music, and in return, the music world took from him. Every night, he stood on stage while the others lost control. But that doesn't mean he was safe. He was just quieter. The world around him was loud, messy, and full of things no one wants to remember. 24. Yngwie Malmsteen. Yngwie Malmsteen looked like a rock god. He had shiny rings, tight pants, and a loud attitude. On stage, he played guitar like fire. But off stage, it wasn't about music. It was about power. He wanted everyone to look at him and do what he said. If someone said no, he didn't care. He just kept going. His shows turned into wild parties. Hotels were ruined. Cars raced. Women were everywhere, not because they felt special, but because he made them feel like they had to be there. He didn't treat them kindly. He saw them as part of his act, not people with feelings. Fans started to notice. They didn't talk about his guitar solos anymore. They talked about the mess he left behind. Even his bandmates got tired of it. He didn't change. He thought he could do whatever he wanted, but people began to turn away. He had the chance to be remembered for music. Instead, he's remembered for the drama and damage. He didn't just want fame. He was addicted to power, and that kind of hunger doesn't end well. 25. Joey DeMaio. Joey DeMaio looked strong and proud. Big muscles, loud voices, leather everywhere. He played the part of a warrior, but behind the stage lights, he acted like a ruler. It wasn't about music, it was about control. He didn't treat people with care. He wanted to be in charge of everyone and everything. Backstage wasn't fun, it was tense. He made people feel small. Women were part of the image, not real people. If they didn't follow his lead, they were pushed out. He called it a performance, but the hurt was real. People smiled around him, but not out of joy. They were afraid. Fans started to talk. They saw how he acted. The songs were about honor, but his actions were the opposite. He used the stage to look strong while hurting people behind the curtain. It wasn't leadership, it was fear and control. His power faded. Fans stopped clapping. They saw through the act. His strength wasn't real. He forgot that real power is kindness and respect. He had a chance to build something good, but he threw it away.